I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews,
the latter-day prophet,
saying against the hypocrisies of our time,
and Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And greetings out there across this great Republic bars and around the world. It's that time once again for the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative from Real Conservatives. I am your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we are here to do what we do best on the Conservative Syndicate. That is to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, on the politics of religion and the religion of politics. We're glad to have you with us today. Got a full gambit for you today. We got Scott Faulkner coming on right after our first break. Patricia Dixon from the American Thinker will join us in the second hour. She's got an interesting take on the meeting that took earlier part this month with Donald Trump and the black school board people out there. We'll talk about that later on. But having said that, I want to get my partner in crime on here. Took the day off yesterday. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing good, John. Good. A lot of news going on, a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how much of it is good, but a lot of stuff going on. And I'm doing well. I made it through. Hey, we're halfway through the week. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Hump day. You know, being officially retired these days, I often forget about that. I forget about it's hump day. Yeah. Okay. In fact, I seldom even recognize the weekends, except for the fact, if it wasn't for the fact we didn't do a show, I probably wouldn't know what day of the week it was. It's just kind of lose sense of time and space to some degree. And, we were just talking the other morning, my wife and I, we're already almost 3 months into the year. I'm like, wow, what happened? You know, it just seemed like weren't we just taking down decorations, from Christmas? Like, wow, here we are. We're coming up on Easter already. It just flies by. And anyway, but there is no loss of things happening out there. We're going to talk about when Scott gets on here, but just revelation, within the last hour, from Representative Nunez out there on the committee that's involved in the FBI investigation on Russian collusion. I call it Russian collusion and leftist contusions. It's like these people are just so hell-bent on pushing this narrative that unverified, refuted dossier offered by a retired British MI6 agent who was contracted by first a GOP operative and then picked up somewhere along the line by the DNC, is the basis of their allegations that Donald Trump has something going on. That him and Vladimir Putin are buddies. They're BFFs, man. And it's just amazing how they just, in spite of everything you hear during the hearings, in spite of everything that you hear from the intelligence committees, people like James Clapper, who said there is no evidence of collusion. All they're trying to determine is if there's some Russian interference in the election process, and only that can be determined within the spectrum of saying they did bad damage to Hillary Clinton. If they did it, this still hasn't been proven. But yet everybody says, well, it's without question that the Russians hacked the DNC. Well, okay, then put up or shut up. I'm kind of, when are we going to learn that? When are we going to know how they determine that? Well, the intelligence communities have assessed this. Okay, so they have a consensus that their assessment is the same. That's still opinion in my dictionary. Is that, do you see it the same way, Joe?
The thing is what's happening now is it's just like when Clapper said, when he was asked, are you gathering intelligence on Americans? And he said, not wittingly.
Yeah, and so we hear today that obviously that's not true.
Yeah, not wittingly, or, we were looking at these other people, and these Americans just happened to walk by and got in the way. We started watching them too.
Yeah, what I'm hearing today so far, this is what I've been able to get out of it. It's really difficult to follow this hearing because what you hear is they'll say, well, we have assessments on this, or we have evidence on this, but we can't tell you what the evidence is, and so we can't really comment as to whether it's really evidence or not. It's like it's really hard to follow. But from what I've been able to strain out of it today was basically what they're saying is that there was a FISA order out there to listen in on something that was going on with the Russians. And I even heard somewhere there was an investigative warrant from the FBI. They were trying to follow or listen in on some mafioso type that happened to be at Trump Tower. And somewhere between these two things, the phone call was picked up with Michael Flynn and a Russian official somewhere. And what happened was the law, the FISA warrant, requires that Michael Flynn's name should have been masked because he was an American citizen. And what happened was somebody unmasked him and then leaked it. So the big question is who leaked it, because that's the person that's going to prison. And so it kind of vindicated to some degree. It doesn't verify or it doesn't validate that Barack Obama wiretapped Trump Tower, which is, 6 of one, half a dozen another. But there was some surveillance going on that netted not only Michael Flynn, but this, what's his name, Craig Pager, some of these other people. And so now the Democrats are resurfacing Paul Manafort's relationship with Russia because the other ones are going to be dying out. We told you earlier that's probably what's going to happen if they can't, if it comes down to the point where they can't just continue the innuendo and allegations, the topic is either going to drop like a hot potato, especially if Obama's name starts popping up all over the place. They'll drop this thing like a hot potato. And so now they're trying to resurface. Paul Manafort was fired or let go. He wasn't hired. He wasn't a member of the Trump campaign in an official capacity, but he was let go, dismissed, because of these ties that he had, I guess, with somebody over in Ukraine, and the Trump campaign didn't want to play around with it.
I think he was let go because of poor performance.
Yeah, and so now, but everybody wants to keep playing this.
And then Bannon came on board, and so he's of course Steve Bannon's the devil incarnate, and so I think that's all this is just. But what you're going to find out, and they're like, well, Donald Trump could find this out right now. He could just call these people up and do this. Yeah, he could just call these people up and do it. And find out what's going on. And in fact, I dare say he probably already has. But since it's dealing with the FISA court, you can't make it public.
Yeah. So we'll see how this plays out here over the next few days or weeks. My contention is this, though. The Democrats will milk this for all it's worth because in the end, it doesn't really matter whether Trump is vindicated or not through investigations or anything else. What matters is that the narrative stays out there long enough that the court of public opinion convicts Donald Trump, and that they can use that to their advantage come 2018 and perhaps beyond. That's the end game.
This is just so much. This is almost as much as circus as this Supreme Court Gorsuch hearing. I mean, this is just some of the stuff that these people are asking Gorsuch is just insane, and just, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Anyway, hey, look, we got to go to our break. When we get back, we'll have Scott Faulkner with us. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We got a lot for you today. We'll be right back.
We're not arguing. We're explaining why we're right. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
And taxpayers, if you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we've got Scott Faulkner checking in with us today. How are you doing, Scott?
Real fine. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah. You're in what, Virginia?
West Virginia by about a mile.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no snow out there today, huh?
No, we got our share last week, and it's now everything except for a few shaded areas. All the snow's gone.
Great. Hey, look, there's so much going on here. I kind of want to just get into everything. The breaking news here that I guess Trump has a little bit of validation that there is indeed, or now evidence, or at least revelation, that there has been some type of surveillance going on regarding him and his people. Am I hearing that correctly?
That is correct. That the Select Committee on Intelligence Chairman Nunes went and met at the White House, and he has uncovered that they did, in fact, surveil Trump Towers. Now, the indication is they were not necessarily surveilling Trump or his transition or his campaign, but because of the way you surveil nowadays, they did capture full conversations of their mobile phones, and what's worse, they made transcripts of them, and worse yet, these transcripts were circulated. So even if the initial FISA ruling or an approval was not about Trump, information was captured, information was documented, and information was disseminated. All three things are illegal.
Now, we know from listening to Gowdy's questioning the other day, the way that he approached the issue, he was really trying to get the FBI, and particularly Comey, to just kind of confirm for us the idea that what these things, as you just pointed out, if these things did occur, that these would be violations of law. And in the course of that, in the context of that questioning, he did a really good job. I think Gowdy did a really good job of nailing down or narrowing down the circle of people that would have had access to this information to maybe the 20 in the NSA or the 20 in the NSA and however there were in the FBI. I don't remember what the number was. But the point being is that you would think at this point that somebody would be able to trace this back and find out where the leaks came from. Why hasn't that happened yet?
Well, that's a good question. That Trump, as president, could ask for this. Sessions, as attorney general, could ask for this. The Senate Judiciary or Senate or Senate or House judiciaries or Select Committee of Intelligence could ask for this. But you're right. It is a very limited number of people who have the security clearances and the reason to have access to this kind of intercept information, and take them into the room, close the doors, have a closed hearing up on the Hill, and just hammer them, because at some point somebody's going to crack, and at some point, who had it when? I mean, there could even be examples of transcripts. Maybe there was a one page missing or something, so we only know that Jeff had it versus Sally. But I mean, there's ways to do it, especially when you're narrowing it down to literally dozens of people instead of hundreds or thousands of people.
Yeah, because it seemed very apparent, like you said, from Gowdy's line of questioning, that especially dealing with as you talked about, masked and unmasked. If this Michael Flynn was caught up in this kind of like a collateral damage kind of thing, I think what they call it, I forget what the term is they call it, but he was caught into this net that they had thrown out there for whatever reason, and he should have been, as they referred to, as masked. And there's only, I think it was Admiral Rogers said there was only 20 people in NSA that had the authority to unmask somebody. So that means if they had the authority to unmask it, then it has to be within that circle. You would think, logic would dictate that within that 20 people, that's where the leak came from.
Exactly. And again, the media is trying to make a big deal that Trump is still overplaying it, but the word wiretap, the term wiretap, is now a very broad, generic term. Nowadays, I mean, when people think of wiretap, they think of the Watergate break-in where you actually had to go and plant a bug someplace. Nowadays, because of everyone is on cell phones and digital signals and Wi-Fi's, you basically go and ping against the tower where the person is mostly doing their communicating. And so you figure there's lots and lots of towers built into the buildings in downtown Manhattan. There's probably a Wi-Fi unit right inside Trump Tower. You have Russian diplomats who rent inside Trump Tower, and that's probably where they were pinging, and they were able to get everything in Trump Tower.
Well, in fact, they have a device now that simulates being a cell tower.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so
absolutely.
After actually doing anything to an existing cell tower, it's just you become a relay station and act as a cell tower.
Exactly, and so that's how they got it. And again, we're not talking about just metadata that Sally called Fred at 10 o'clock yesterday. We're now saying that they were transcribing this stuff, and so. Here's another example that if the FISA court said we only want these two Russians on the 15th floor of Trump Tower, and they're getting Flynn or they're getting Kellyanne talking to somebody, why are they transcribing that at all?
Yeah.
Let alone disseminating it outside of their circles. There's a lot of questions here.
If I can get back to a basic question here that in my mind hasn't really been answered. What was Michael Flynn doing talking to anybody from Russia to begin with? I guess that's probably the question that is feeding the narrative. It's not that he was talking; it's why was he talking? Do we have any information on that?
What we have going back is that people talk to international people all the time. Informally, formally. This is how business is done in New York and in D.C. in particular. So, was he talking to them because he had followed up on? They were talking about a trade deal, or saying, what is there something nefarious, or is it something mundane? The way that Flynn pulled the ripcord and left. Part of it was he supposedly lied to Pence. But part of it is maybe there was something there where he was going beyond normal schmoozing, normal interactions, where, especially since we're talking not during the campaign, but during the transition period, of course there were people calling from every country under the sun wanting to find out something about what Trump's up to and congratulating and laying the groundwork for, once you're in office, let's go have lunch, come over to the embassy. We got an embassy party February 1st. We'll get an invitation in the mail to you. Those things happen in Washington literally every second and are primarily mundane. So was it one of those things, or was it, hey, once you get in, we can cut a deal on X and Y, and therefore, as a private citizen before January 20th, he was skating up against some gray areas, or even some black and white areas that got him in trouble. Those are still to be determined.
Yeah, that's what's confusing about this. If we say, okay, as you said, first of all, Flynn talking to these Russian officials prior to the transition, let's say during the campaign, okay, what would he have? Right. Why would he need to talk to somebody like that? Now, let's go back even further. The FISA warrant was issued to, I understand, surveil two Russian people, right? Two Russian officials. Am I correct there? Okay.
Right.
All right. Were these two Russian officials, either one of them, in the conversation with Michael Flynn, or was it somebody else that Michael Flynn was talking to that got caught up into the net? That's the question that we need to answer, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't really know who, at this point, they have not, as far as I know, they have not identified who the Russian official was that Michael Flynn apparently was talking to, or if they have not identified that Russian official within the sphere of these two Russian officials that the FBI was monitoring. Am I correct there?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's still down to speculation in terms of Comey saying, well, there is an investigation going on, which I want to get to in a second. With the source of that investigation is really what's got me riled up. But the idea here is that Comey's saying one or more Russian officials were being surveilled, and somewhere along the line, Michael Flynn had a conversation with either one or two of these people or somebody else that was also a Russian official and got caught up in this net that was transcribed and then leaked. Is that am I giving the proper assessment?
That is correct. And so, again, we're back to the issue of, since Flynn was not the subject, why was the transcript done at all? I mean, if you're sitting there going, we want these two Russian officials and find out, are they running espionage? Are they doing something if they're up in New York, they're probably part of the UN or the trade mission up there. So what's going on? And since Flynn was not the target, and so how did a transcript get created of that particular conversation to begin with? But number two, which is the biggie, why did it get disseminated outside of the channels that would be the normal ones for processing and assessing whether there's something to worry about or not?
There's the part that sends people to jail.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's the part. Somebody has to hang for this. Whoever this leak it has to hang. If they don't hang, if it turns out an Obama operative and they do whatever they can to try to, give them immunity or whatever, that's wrong. This is just wrong. But what I find so confusing about this thing is that if they were told to surveil these two Russian officials, why in the world was anybody else surveilled? And so I'm beginning to wonder that perhaps, this is how people that think outside the box, the operatives out there and people like Barack Obama who came up in the Chicago machine, what do? You get a FISA warrant to cover a legitimate thing, and in the process you say, hey, just catch everybody else out there while you can, and let's see if anything is going on. And that would allow him to deny that he, quote-unquote, wiretapped Donald Trump, but still had authorization to surveil that allowed them to use that as a front, basically, a front to do something more subversive. That's how I'm interpreting it, but that's my bias. Okay, that's through my bias prism.
Yeah, but it also gets back to the point, like Joe mentioned, that you have this technology where you can literally interpose your own tower in place of the usual tower to be the repeating to repeat the signal, and you capture everything. And of course, these towers nowadays, they're taking care, especially in downtown Manhattan, probably tens of thousands of communications a second. And so if you've got something, a tower that's built into or interposed either in the Trump Tower itself or in that block, they're capturing everything. And so they could be listening in on debate prep discussions between Kellyanne, calling someone at the Heritage Foundation, say, we need a factoid to throw up against Hillary, and who knows where this stuff could go. That's Watergate territory.
Now, let me also expand on that just a minute here. Is it true? I don't know. Maybe we are truly into the age of James Bond, that kind of stuff. But is it possible for these people to pick up audio that is not being transmitted through something like a phone or a cell phone or something like that? Just voice activation. They can pick it up just out of a room. Isn't there some kind of technology for that?
Yeah, you can do that with lasers. Yes.
Yeah, they've had that for years. In fact, going back to the Carter administration, you might remember that the Carter folks were really pro-Cuba, pro-Soviets, and they allowed the Soviet Union to build their new embassy up near the Washington Cathedral at the highest point in Washington. And there, because of the way they were configured, the entire one whole side of the Soviet embassy was directly facing the Pentagon. And so I had friends during the Reagan years in the Pentagon, and they actually had to have little micro vibrators vibrating against the glass of those windows facing the Russian embassy, or at that time the Soviet embassy, to disrupt those kind of laser signals or other things, because they could literally capture conversations inside the Pentagon on that side facing the Soviet embassy. And so again, when you look at all the things that the liberals and Democrats have done over the years, like putting, at the same time that the U.S. embassy was being built in a swamp area outside of Moscow, we were giving them prime real estate, highest point in Washington, D.C., direct line of sight access to the Pentagon.
Okay, let me interrupt you there, Scott, because we got to take a break here. Because I have another question I want to ask along this line. I want to get to Neil Gorsuch also. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back, guys.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Now, just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573. 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
That America must put its own citizens first, because only then can we truly make America great again.
Am I not speaking English? The Conservative Syndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. Along with Joe Hakos, we got Scott Faulkner checking in with us with his weekly contribution to our show here. We were talking about the FBI hearing here. I want to just kind of shift gears a little bit because I really want to get into the Neil Gorsuch confirmation hearing here with Scott. One last thing here I wanted to ask you about, Scott. Adam Schiff used about 12 minutes in his opening remarks when the hearing began to outline the purpose of the investigation is to determine, of course, whether or not there is collusion between Donald Trump and Russian either officials or interests or whatever. And he used the premise of his remarks were based on this debunked, discredited dossier that was submitted that even Barack Obama was reported to have said, what is this even doing here? Although I personally believe Obama used that dossier to his advantage that probably led up to maybe perhaps this investigation because James Comey had admitted to Trey Gowdy that they had to have some kind of preliminary allegations of some kind to even initiate an investigation, and I'm wondering if that will pan out somewhere that this dossier was actually the original source of this whole investigation. But the point being, this dossier, everything in it was debunked or discredited or unverified, and the thing was tossed aside. Of course, it resurfaced with Jake Tapper right around, I believe it was around October or so, when they tried to initiate this whole conversation about Trump having interest with Russian banks and everything else. And I'm wondering why James Comey or Admiral Rogers has not addressed this every time Schiff has referred to it several times. Jackie Spear referred to it. Julian Castro referred to it. But all these Democrat operatives have done this. These officials have all referred to this dossier as the source of their questioning. Why hasn't somebody like James Comey just said, look, you're using something that nobody gives any credibility to?
I don't know what Comey's game is. I mean, we go back to where he was a hero right before the Republican convention, and then he decided to say Hillary was okay, and then he came back again a week or two before the election, and then the week of the election said she's okay. I don't know, whether he's bipolar or what the deal is, but he's got these. I don't know why he doesn't become a truth teller on things like this, because this dossier is totally bogus. Trump has proven several times over that he was never at that hotel ever, let alone even in that country on the dates that they say. And then he says he's a germaphobe, which means golden showers would certainly be the last thing he would pay anybody to do. And so it's but I think, again, the underlying issue is that all these liberals, I mean, we all are of the same, basically, age bracket. We remember in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and read before that how the liberals said, oh, the Rosenbergs were framed and Alger Hiss was innocent. And they, the literally 70 years, these Democrats, or their parents, going on and on about there's never been any Soviet Union spies in the United States. There was never any Soviet influence in Hollywood. There was never any Soviet double agents or triple agents in the United Nations. And You have the Verona papers and others that have come out since then that have proven every single thing that McCarthy said was true, every single thing Reagan said was true, everything the House Un-American Activities Committee investigated in the 60s and 70s was true, and yet the Democrats and the liberals and the media and in politics say, never happened, and now all of a sudden they're the ones obsessed with saying, oh, the Russians are everywhere and they're all around Trump, and I mean, it is just irony beyond belief.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But beyond the golden showers accusation in this dossier, and I'm reading directly from the transcript here, Adam Schiff says that according to Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence officer who was reportedly held in high regard by the U.S. intelligence, Russian sources tell him that Carter Page, had also had a secret meeting with Igor Second, CEO of the Russian gas giant Rosneft. Second is reported to have been a former KGB agent and close friend of Putin's. Page has offered brokerage fees by such on a deal involving a 19% share of the company. Now, this is apparently came out of this dossier that everybody says nothing of it has been verified. I'm wondering why somebody hasn't said to Mr. Schiff, you're quoting from a dossier that nobody gives any credibility, but you people here on the panel and CNN. It's like at some point in time, shouldn't somebody be saying something about this? You are using fake news to get this narrative out there, because that's all this is about. This is about punching that narrative out there to such a point that the court of public opinion condemns Donald Trump, and that helps the Democrats in the upcoming midterm and 2020 election. That's what I'm seeing.
It gets back to the fundamental problem that we have come in 2017, and that is on Monday, January 23rd, with Trump in the White House and his team in the West Wing and some of his people fanned out in the agencies, the Republicans in Congress, both the House and the Senate, should have begun 24/7 hearings and investigations in every aspect of Obama, bring back issues regarding the IRS, regarding the FEC, regarding Fast and Furious, you name it, and then completely eviscerate and go into do a proctoscope on everything around Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation. They should have been rocking the Democrats' world starting at 9 o'clock on Monday, the 23rd of January, and there hasn't been one peep out of any Republican in either the House or the Senate to do any of that, and that gave a vacuum where the Democrats are filling. And shame, shame, shame on the Republican Party in Congress for not rocking the world of the Democrats starting in January, because they have left, because we're playing defense, and they should have been absolutely in their bunkers with bunker buster bombs raining down on them.
I agree 100%. 100%. Joe, do you have any closing comments on this topic before we move on?
Well, it's just amazing that this is allowed to go on. But and again, like Scott said, it's the Republicans in office, because remember, it took, I don't know, a month to get Jeff Sessions to be confirmed as Attorney General, or maybe even longer. I can't even remember how long it's been.
Ridiculous. For second week of February, absolutely nuts.
It's ridiculous, and so it's time for Mitch McConnell to take Chuck Schumer, that rat, aside and just tell him, look, if you want any consideration for the next 2 years, you better just deal with the fact that you guys lost and step and start getting with the program. Otherwise, I would just blow out the rules, nuclear option, whatever you want to call it. I really don't care what you call it. I would say we got 52 votes, and we're going to use them, and we're going to get everything we want, and we're not really going to pay attention to whatever you guys say. You guys can go out and have a news conference every damn day, but that won't stop us from doing what we want to do. If you want to play that way, fine. And that's the only way the Democrats will learn anything.
Yeah, and
if they ever can learn anything.
No, and I'm beginning to think that the Republicans haven't learned anything either here, which leads me to one last question here regarding this whole thing. It's an overall, it's a big picture kind of question here. we'll get into the Gorsuch confirmation hearings, and if we have any time, maybe touch on the Ryan Care bill. Do you think, Scott, that the possibility exists that the Republican leadership would be willing to sacrifice some majorities in the House and Senate to preserve the establishment?
Oh, yes. I think that that's absolutely true. And what's weird is that 2018 should be an absolute Republican year, not only hopefully a good set of victories and policy successes by Trump, but you have 10 senators, Democrat senators, up for re-election in states where, in many cases, Trump won by double digits. And so we should be getting a veto-proof majority. But yeah, if the rank-and-file Trump people and Tea Party people out there see McConnell and especially the Senate Republicans just basically kowtowing to Schumer, kowtowing to the Washington Post and New York Times and CNN, we could have a meltdown. And instead of getting 62, 64 seats, we could be literally having Pence be the 51st vote 24/7 for 2018 to 2020. That's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Okay, hey, look, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you again.
They love their swamp. They love their swamp.
Yeah, I got to interrupt you again. We got to take a quick break here. 2-minute break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. The ConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right. Hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We've got Scott Faulkner with us. And, Scott, I want to move on to the Neil Gorsuch hearings. What is your take so far? What's your take so far on this?
The Democrats are destroying themselves in front of the cameras, and I'm hoping that somebody is archiving it and will take some of the greatest hits from it and ram it down their throats for the next couple election cycles, because it's scary, number one, because they're trying to Bork him. And for people who are not familiar with that, that was where, up until Bork, Supreme Court justices, as long as they were qualified and not dishonest, the president was given full sway to bring them in. And then Bork's the first one, thanks to Kennedy and Biden, saying, well, you're too conservative for us, and we're going to stop you. And they're trying to Bork this guy, and there's no way. He's brilliant. He is absolutely running rings around them. And all their different efforts to try to trip them up just makes them look like very foolish. But the other piece of the puzzle is when you look especially at Feinstein and some of these others on the Democrat side, they are putting forth this, zealous manifesto about moral relativism, constitutional relativism, going on and on about, well, the founding fathers didn't know there were going to be airplanes or cell phones, so therefore the Constitution should be reinvented on like a weekly basis. And that is absolutely madness. And thankfully they're putting it all out there for the people, for the world to see.
That's their hypocritical stuff going on there, because that's all. Yeah, the Constitution is not settled, but then again, Roe versus Wade is settled. That's settled. That's all settled. You can't do anything about that. But the Second Amendment, no, we got to change that. That's not settled.
Well, a particular interest to me was the exchange between Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota when he tried to paint Gorsuch into the corner regarding the originalist intent of the founders by using the argument you were just talking about, Scott, about could we have a woman president? Because in those days, women weren't allowed to vote, or women didn't have the vote. I don't know if it was they weren't allowed, but they didn't have the vote. And he's like, well, of course a woman can be president. And she gave several examples where it's like, kind of like, well, if we were still using muskets instead of A7s or whatever, what was
AR-15s,
AR-15s,
I mean, it's madness. It's absolute madness. And the whole concept, I mean, for people who love the Constitution the way we do, the way certainly most of the Republicans on the Senate Judiciary do, it is the most brilliant blueprint for managing conflict in a public space that has ever been written in the history of humankind. And so you can say, well, they had the 3/5 rule and this and that. Well, that's how that was to get it through. The core of the Constitution is to balance the rights of the people and to control government from ever impinging on the rights of the people. It is, and again, the beauty of the Constitution versus like the rights of man and the other things the French Revolution brought forward. You did not have idealists. You had realists in Philadelphia to do the Constitution. You had real issues of big states versus small states, rural versus urban, and they were saying we've got to come up with something that allows us to sort through these conflicts and at the end of the day keep as much freedom in the hands of people as possible. I mean, that's the whole concept of it. And so whether they didn't have a crystal ball to create an ideal world. In fact, the preamble of the Constitution is to form a more perfect union, not a perfect union.
Right.
And that's where the amendments come in. Of course, we have an amendment to free the slaves. We have an amendment to allow blacks to vote. We have an amendment to let women vote. We have these other amendments because circumstances changed, and we refine the Constitution as we go. And the amendment process has worked very well for us for 200 plus years. And so I love the Feinstein stuff on this and Klobuchar. And then one of my favorite surreal moments was Cruz and Gorsuch were kind of having a fun section about taking kids to the rodeo and all that, and then the idiot there, Al Franken, says, "Well, we ought to be talking about animal rights now." Then and so you just sit there and go, "These people are just totally on a different plane of existence."
Well, it's funny. I was expecting. I can't help it. Anytime I see Al Franken in front of a camera trying to talk politics, I just immediately relapse into Stuart Smalley.
Oh, yes. Right. Absolutely.
You talk about a you talk about people getting stereotyped, and that's the stereotype this guy will forever be. I can see his gravestone, his epitaph will be, and doggone it, people like me.
Oh, yeah. And he's not even an attorney, and he's on the Judiciary Committee. Figure that one out.
Well, these days it doesn't matter, you know.
I mean, every time he starts talking about the law, I'm thinking he's going to say in the next statement, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, and that's why I know so much.
Yeah, what are your qualifications? Well, my qualifications is I was on Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. Hey, look, Scott, we're out of time here, but I wanted to give you time to plug what's going on out there because I know you have the Citizen Oversight blog site and stuff like that, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to plug it.
Right. I thank you. I've got 2 new articles on Newsmax that I think people will really like. One is a very detailed and comprehensive look at Trump's immigration policy and the history of immigration policy in America. And the other is one that just came out today, which is really eviscerating the State Department. Everyone's saying, oh, my goodness, we can't cut the State Department. And I'm going into some very firsthand views because I was on it in the embassy in Malawi back in the 80s as country director for Peace Corps, and the stuff I saw, I mean, the State Department shouldn't even get $1 in some of these cases. They do so much damage for America abroad. AID does so much damage. They spent $1 trillion from 1962 to present, and all we have in most cases are empty buildings and rusting tractors in the third world.
Yeah,
these places are ripe to be cut, and hopefully this will give people ammunition to help Trump and Tillerson do it.
Yeah, I understand Mitch McConnell's against the removal of foreign aid over there, and I can't help but think, I wonder what that has to do with his marriage to his wife in China and the whole 9 yards there, the neocon perceptions these guys carry around with them, and the special interest overseas, all these things. So, yeah, it's all... It's going to be an exciting few months.
Oh yeah, I mean AID is filled with PhDs, not MBAs, and that's the big problem. And people need. I mean, no matter how much ultimately gets cut, Tillerson and Trump are going to force a dialogue and a rethinking that's really going to help everybody.
I hope so. Once again, thanks so much for taking time. I hope your father's doing better.
Yeah, his numbers are good. He's on dialysis now, but hopefully we'll have him home next week, and we're looking to the future.
All right. Good news. That's good news. That's the best news I've heard all day. Thanks so much for joining us, Scott. We'll talk to you next time around.
Absolutely. Have a great night, everyone.
All right. Okay, guys, we're coming up here at the top of the hour here. We're about a minute away from going over to the Edwards Notebook. Joe, let me give you that minute because you've been so quiet this whole hour. You got anything you want to add to this before we take off?
Well, I would just like people to understand that whenever you see Al Franken there sitting as a senator, just remember he's just a walking advertisement for the repeal of the 17th Amendment.
Without a doubt. You're absolutely right. I
mean, the guy doesn't know a thing about anything about the Constitution at all. He can. It's amazing, and he's trying to take a very way well qualified individual in Gorsuch and tell him he was wrong about whatever. And it's like, hello. I don't care what your junior high school age said there, Al, but I think this guy knows what he's talking about when he talks about the law and precedents in this case and that case. This guy's way qualified to do.
That's what you get. That's what you get when you're a member of over a dozen self-help programs, but not a licensed therapeutist.
Guys, ridiculous.
We got to go to break. We got to go to break.
It's time to go ahead and take the break, and it's time to break the Senate and let's confirm Gorsuch already. We've gone on long enough.
All right. Edward Notebook, guys, and we pay some bills, and we'll be back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Oh, my goodness. So the statist Republicans trotted out Obamacare Light. I feel it is yet another insult to the American people. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, So now we, the people, are possibly being forced to wait indefinitely before there will be any serious tax cuts because the powers that be decided not to cut one single tax until after Obamacare is replaced. One of the excuses used to drag the process out is certain Senate procedure rules. And also, if Obamacare is totally brought up for a vote, then the progressives like Chucky Schumer will filibuster and prevent any progress. To that I say bunk. Because if they would have done a better job of defending the medical marketplace when Ali Obama was foisting his socialist health-damaging system upon us, perhaps the dilemma they now refer to wouldn't be occurring now. So basically, this drip, drip, drip approach will do little to relieve the burden now faced by the average American who has to endure it, unlike Congress and President Trump, who enjoy a far superior form of health care. Meanwhile, this Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 approach kicks needed tax reductions further down the road. Those midterm elections will be very interesting, to say the least. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
All right, hey, we're back. And this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. I hope you enjoyed the first hour. I always like having Scott on. That's when I get him on, I try to get him on the entire show because we really don't have any yes and no questions for Scott when he comes on because we're trying to get details and information. We're trying to get his if I can use the term, we're trying to squeeze him for everything we can get because he's there at ground zero, and he's seeing things firsthand, and it's a great way to get around trying to decipher what the media is doing sometimes. In fact, almost all the time, really, if we're really honest about it. So I hope we got something out of that, and I'm just kind of curious, Joe. I know we can only speculate at this point. What do you think the final tally will be when it comes to the Gorsuch confirmation? I'm sure that some of the Democrats are going to cave. They're going to give it because in spite of all the politicization, they really can't not confirm this guy. I'm just wondering how. I'm sure everybody's on the committee will probably vote against him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he won't get chosen, right? I mean, am I hearing that right? Does every senator vote on this?
He is going to be confirmed, period. Schumer can postulate all he wants. It's not going to happen. They're not going to not confirm this guy. He's going to be confirmed. He's going to be the next Supreme Court justice, and the Democrats can just grin and bear it and step up and actually do what they need to do, or they can go ahead and do it the hard way. It doesn't. I would, like I said the first hour, it is time to quit playing footsie with these people.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the actual,
just blow them up. Period.
In terms of the actual vote, is the entire Senate votes? Am I correct?
Yeah, all they need is a simple majority.
Yeah. Well, I thought with the Supreme Court justice they needed the 60 votes.
No, that's just 60 votes to stop a filibuster. That's all that is, and screw that. Who cares? Just change the rules, like I said last week. Who cares? The Democrats don't care about rules.
I had thought when Reid had that nuclear option passed when he was in control that it applied, the simple majority applied to everything but the Supreme Court nominee.
That's It's for closure. That's just to stop a filibuster. That's all that is. It's a simple Senate rule. There's nothing constitutional written in the Constitution. All you need is a simple majority. 51 senators. That's all you need.
Well, I will say this. We've only got a couple minutes here. We'll go to our quick break here, in our short segment here. One of the things I've noticed, the pattern of the Democrats that are questioning Gorsuch, they really seem concerned collectively about his position on, quote, women's rights more than anything else. The other stuff gets grouped into it, but it's all about, the Planned Parenthood, and it's all about a woman's right to choose and everything else. They really are concerned about keeping that voting bloc. The only real voting bloc they have, per se, outside of minorities, is the women vote, the promiscuous women, the Sandra Fluke fan club people out there that think the government should be involved in allowing them to have free contraception and abortion on demand, to make up for all their immorality and everything else. So it's going to be interesting. I just wonder what the final tally was going to be. I think, you might have 6 or 7 Democrats end up going with the confirmation, but the stalwarts, the people like Frank and them are going to vote against him. We already know that. So
it's come down to, are they going to go ahead and look stupider than they already do? Because there are quite a few that are from states that President Trump carried this last election. So, they're coming up on their own re-elections. And so you want to look dumb, or do you want to look like you're just a partisan hack and you don't really care about the country or anything? You only care about your party that's too stupid to even worry about cybersecurity on your DNC servers. That's a story for us to talk about. The Pakistani federal employee who had access to all these government computers sitting in the House of Representatives, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz's computers, and why there's not more to do about that little scenario.
Yeah.
About leaks.
We got to go to break. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You're listening to the Strident Conservative. He's always right.
Hello, America. This is David Leach, the Strident Conservative. The repeal in name only of Obamacare by Trump and the Republican Party is right on schedule. As I wrote a few days ago, the GOP has adopted the same playbook for passing Trump care that the Democrats used when they passed Obamacare, including never-ending campaign rallies, town hall meetings where members of Congress tell their constituents to just shut up, and a Christmas list of promises designed to convince America that this time, government-run health care really will lower cost and improve care. However, even with all this awesomeness, Donnie and his gang of thugs still don't have the votes to cram this through Congress before cramming it down America's throat. Not to worry, though. Trump and the GOP brought out the big guns recently to bully their dissenters into submission. On Monday, Trump tapped into his inner Obama by holding yet another campaign rally, apparently unaware that the campaign is over, where, when he wasn't taking credit for destroying the NFL and Colin Kaepernick's career, he promised his worshipers in Kentucky that Trump care would, quote, end the Obamacare catastrophe, end quote. In a meeting praised by Paul Ryan for creating unity, Trump had words with the conservative members of the House Freedom Caucus and renewed his threat to primary them if they didn't fall in line. In addition, he specifically targeted Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, saying, quote, I'm coming after you, end quote. In the Senate, the Rock of Gibraltar for the conservative cause, Mitch McConnell, that's sarcasm, folks, served as proxy for Trump when he informed fellow Republicans that they will face political consequences for opposing Trump care. Mickey even used a tactic that would make Democrats proud when he stated that voting no on Trump care was voting yes for Obamacare and the status quo. Changing the name of Obamacare isn't the same as repealing it, but it does keep Washington in control of health care. And in the end, that's the goal of the progressive Trumplican Party. If you have a comment on this topic, visit stridentconservative.com.
Hey folks, John Matthews here from the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. The debate regarding who should be accredited with defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results lends to its own insanity. Whether Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, or Rita Mae Brown coined the adage or not, its meaning is as true as the fact the sun will rise and set tomorrow. In much the same fashion, citizens across our great republic today are debating whether or not it is time to change course regarding the accepted established norms of our political system. Is it time to create a new party or continue to expect different results after electing the same people keeping our current system? Partisanship, corruption, and a desire to maintain power for the sake of power by those we elect, reinforced by decades of empty promises trotted out each election cycle but never fulfilled, has left America frustrated, angry, and rebellious to degrees not seen since the Civil War. The only viable solution is to quit adhering to the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is why the Conservative Party USA exists. The Conservative Party USA arose during the Tea Party Rebellion in 2010. It seeks to rectify the insanity that defines the consistent failures and corruption of the current two-party system by nominating and supporting candidates who are committed to imposing the conservative principles of fiscal discipline, restraining the reach of the federal government as outlined in the Constitution, and defending America's traditional family values. If you're tired of witnessing the insanity that dominates our political system, check us out at conservativepartyusa.org. That's conservativepartyusa.org.
We need to keep illegals out.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
My fault, guys. Once again, operator malfunction. Operator malfunction on this, and thank you, Joe, for covering for me and keeping the encoders up and running. I turned the mic off here because I was having a problem connecting with Patricia. I was trying to get a hold of her on my cell. I didn't want anybody here. But, live radio, guys. That's the way it works sometimes. We've got with us Patricia Dixon, who writes for the American Thinker. We've had Patricia on a couple times here, and she continues to leave me in awestruck. She leaves me in awe sometimes with the way she writes and some of the things she talks about. How are you doing today, Patricia?
It's a good day, and I'm doing just fine. It's an excellent day.
Yes, it is a great day, great day. And just before we get into discussing your latest article out there at the American Thinker, I know you're pretty actively involved down in Orange County in the Republican Party. Is there anything on the burners down there that we're not hearing about in mainstream?
Not really. Not right now. Basically, just same things going on. The fighting the sanctuary city stuff and all of that illegal alien stuff, and trying to protect illegal criminals. Same stuff, but at least the Orange County sheriff was trying to, Deborah Pauley had posted an article where she was trying to not protect the criminals and not, be a holding cell for illegal criminals. But that's a fight right now.
Well, I know we've got some sanctuary cities down in Orange County, Santa Ana in particular, which has declared itself officially a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
I grew up right next to Santa Ana. I lived in Garden Grove, and so I was well aware. I went, our school district, just to give people an idea how this thing was demographically skewed. Our school district consisted of, Garden Grove High, but then everything else was Santiago, La Quinta, Los Amigos, Rancho Alamitos. It gives you kind of an idea of what we had to deal with down there. But it's interesting that Santa Ana at this particular point in time would actually declare itself a sanctuary city. I wonder what they're thinking behind that. What the thinking is behind that.
Oh, well, have you seen the demographics? I mean, of course, I wasn't surprised at all. It's not a shock to me.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially you have a president that just comes in and says, we're going to defund sanctuary cities. And so, okay, let's get out there and declare ourselves a sanctuary city. I'm like, okay, there's liberal logic for you, I guess. So,
Well, you know where Jerry Brown is right now. He's begging for money. From the same president he said that he was not going to accept, and he was not the real president, and this, that, and the other. But yet he's begging him for money right now.
Yeah,
same president. So
yeah. Have you been following Gavin Newsom's introductory legislation here to actually?
Oh my God!
To create a state-funded healthcare system.
Yeah. I don't know. It's depressing. The more it's like we're going further and further. What is the matter with us? I mean, you just can't get in every day. It's getting worse and worse from the leaders.
Yeah, I know, and I become one of
they
Joe's.
were saying, this is what I have been saying. They was like, well, we're going to try, we Republicans, we need to get out and we need to try to turn California red. And what I'm noticing now, we're not going to have to do anything. It's going to turn red on its own because these people are going so far. See, people always overplay. Democrats, they overplay their hands all the time. 80% of Californians don't want sanctuary cities, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. Mm-hmm. You heard about that. Poll that was done. Nobody wants that.
It even pertains to the Hispanic community. The Hispanic community as a whole doesn't want that.
Exactly. So if you have this is a blue state, but 80% of the people in this state are opposed of what the governor and these mayors and all these people want, then it won't be long. We won't have to do anything. It'll turn red on its own.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. I want to get into your article here that you wrote for the American Thinker about the meeting that Donald Trump had back in the beginning of March with the historically black colleges and universities. I call it the HBCUs, I guess is what they refer themselves to. And Donald Trump had signed an HBCU executive order. Since that meeting was all about Kellyanne Conway on the couch, I was wondering if you could take the time to inform our listeners what actually occurred at the meeting, what it was about, what Donald Trump's executive order is about, and why do you think this was all underplayed by the media?
Okay, well, first of all, of course, they have to keep their narrative going that, Donald Trump is a racist, a bigot, and all these other things. And, his Omarosa, Magnet, I have a hard time pronouncing her last name. She's a black female who's his part of his diversity outreach team. She graduated from a historical black college. That's what you call them, historical black colleges and universities. And she went to him and said, we need this, that, and the other. And President Trump said, fine, bring them in. He signed an executive order, the first to remove the historical black colleges because they're in a bad shape financially from under the education system and under the White House, basically. That was the first thing. And then he signed some kind of executive order where they would get contracts and things like that to try to bring them up financially because they're in a bad shape. But anyway, the reason he knew about it was because his diversity outreach person, and he listens to his team. Donald Trump has always said, I'm here to listen, especially when it came to the black Americans, because he doesn't know. I mean, he's a white billionaire, but he cares, so he listens to people. So he had them, along with Education Secretary DeVos and Vice President Pence. They had a whole conference-like thing at the White House. The media didn't cover any of that, of course. And so after that, that's when they all went into the the Oval Office and took a photo and all that. But the media didn't report any of that because they didn't want to hear that, because that, interrupts their narrative, which is he's a racist, this, that, and the other. So they tried to downplay it. And just so happened, Kellyanne, and the reason she was sitting on the couch was because they had told her to get up there and take a photo. That's the whole reason she's on the couch to begin with. Well, she saved, basically, she gave them something to distract from, because they didn't want to report that all those black leaders, these are the presidents of the colleges, were there. So they concentrated on her, and pretty much that's how it is. But my article was saying that they're losing the narrative, and the reason they are, because they're sounding ridiculous. Because everything they say about him, his actions prove the opposite. And actions will always speak louder than words. I don't care how many lies you tell. So they're pretty much losing the narrative, and they know it. And they're just getting stupid with now. They're saying ridiculous stuff. So that's basically what the article was about, is how they're losing the narrative. And I don't know what they're going to come up with next.
Well, Joe, you're going to say something, Joe?
No, it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's pretty hard to think of what they'll try to come up with next. I mean, that's not going to stick. So what could, maybe he's a Martian or something. I don't know.
Well, they said he's a sexist and a bigot. And, he signed an executive order the other week about women in science. And he's hired all these women in his cabinet. And, but they still want to, it's sounding ridiculous. How can you continue to say those things about someone when all of their actions are the opposite? Who's going to look, foolish? You or the president? You are. And that's basically, they're running out of narratives. Now, I'm sure they're probably going nuts right about now, especially today. Today was an awesome day.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at Trump's prior history before becoming president, it's already been well documented that he has put more women in executive positions than any other CEO or owner of any business in probably the history of business, as far as I've been able to discern.
Exactly.
So this idea that he just suddenly has decided to become more woman friendly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I found interesting in the article you quoted here, Johnny Taylor, the president of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, made the comment speculating as to whether what Donald Trump was doing when he had this meeting that was basically a photo op, or is this some sort of planned effort to convert our campuses to support the Republican Party? What a condemning statement to come out of somebody. We're worried about you coming in here and turning our kids Republicans.
Exactly.
I'm like,
that's the entire fear, though. He just spoke the truth. He spoke what he's really feeling, because that's what they don't want to lose black people.
Yeah. In line with that thought, Patricia, I wanted to ask you, do you see we saw a trend that was beginning during what I call the Trump phenomenon, in that he was breaking some of the color barriers, not only in the black community, but Hispanic community. It's a very hard barrier in the Asian community. I deal a lot with the Asian community, and that's going to be a very hard wall to breach. But is the trend, as far as you know, can you tell us, is the trend continuing as far as minority communities going, that they are maybe starting to come more over to our side of the fence?
Well, I was surprised at the number of blacks supporting Trump during the election, because I find most of them, of course, on Twitter. I mean, it's hundreds of them. And I was surprised. They have YouTube channels. And so I was surprised. What it is, a lot of black people are afraid to come out publicly and say it. But I believe, and see, that's why they don't want him to start governing, because he's already making, inroads. And I believe that he will get a whole lot more black support 2020 if he runs 2020, because it doesn't matter when people's needs are met. When you meet someone's needs, that's what they're going to appreciate. They're going to forget they're going to block out all the noise from the media and everybody else when you meet someone's needs. And that's what Trump wants to do. Trump loves America. He loves America. Look at the jobs he's bringing back. And his speech that he gave on Black History Month was just awesome. And then his speech before the joint sessions, Congress, that speech, and how he stood the black girl up. Did you see that? How he had that black female to stand up and tell her story about how she was the first to graduate from college, and she was working on her second master's degree, and she had flunked maybe a grade in school because she was in a poor school. He talked about how he wanted every black and Latino kid to get a good education. You cannot fake that. No president has ever directly addressed an issue in a group of people the way he has. No president has. And you cannot fake that. And that's what they're afraid of, because he means it. He's not lying. He means what he says.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. I will give him that. I don't always agree with what he says, but I always give him credit that he does mean what he says. I mean, there's
the thing is, Trump, the way he speaks, I'm down to earth and I'm a common sense person, so I know exactly what he's saying. These other people claim it comes out wrong, but they know what he's talking about, but they'd rather focus on when he said it wrong or whatever, the way it came out. So far, I've agreed with everything he said and done. I have, personally. But a lot of people say, well, I don't agree with this. There's nothing he said and done so far that I haven't agreed with.
Yeah, okay. Hey, look, we've got to go to our break. Here. We'll be right back. We have Patricia Dixon, who writes for the American Thinker, with us. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question.
Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Now, just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
Am I not speaking English?
The Conservative Syndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. Just a quick reminder here, visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. You can pick up the archive of this show, any of our shows. You want to find out what we do, why we do it here at the Conservative Syndicate, and that's where you would go to find out, theconservativesyndicate.net. We've got Patricia Dixon with us today. She writes for the American Thinker. She just penned an article about the meeting that took place at the beginning of the month between Donald Trump and the conglomeration organization of black universities out there. And the media, of course, downplayed that and was more concerned about Kellyanne Conway on the couch than anything else. And we asked Patricia to expound and expand upon what the meeting was actually about. I'd like to shift gears here a little bit, Patricia, and get your take on what's going on with the Neil Gorsuch confirmation hearings. How are you reading what's happening right now?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of positive things about it. Yesterday was awesome because the way he handled himself, you can tell this man is very knowledgeable and very, the way he handled, what's his name? The one that tried to trip him up with a question from a student who's now a lawyer who's been clerking for Democrats. Just the way he's just a good guy. And I haven't heard anything negative about him. Of course, a couple of the Democrats who were trying to, trip him up have said stupid stuff. But other than that, I've heard nothing but good stuff, good things about him.
I think what I've been taking away from this, from the parts of it I've been able to catch, I haven't been able to catch the entire hearing. I think they were there like 14 hours yesterday or something. I'm like, yeah, I wish I had 14 hours to watch this thing. But the pattern of questioning that you can tell is geared to try to politicize his nomination to, particularly at this point in time, the women's voting bloc. The questions about
that's it.
Did you catch that also?
Yes. Well, it started with that question that what is the guy's name? The Democrat? I can't even think of his name. That's the way they do it. They start with one person and then it just starts shifting in that direction. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what they're trying to do. But Because they were asking him about. Go ahead.
And what I haven't heard so far, and I'm wondering if it will surface in line with what we were talking about earlier with your article here. Do you think somebody's going to try to breach this thing about trying to maybe continue to exploit? That's the term I use when I talk about the way the Democrats treat minorities, and not just black community, but any minority community. In terms of exploiting them and trying to use this nomination to paint this guy as the racist and bigot that they're trying to paint Donald Trump. I haven't seen them actually unload that yet, but I'm waiting for it. And I'm wondering, have you picked up anything on that? Because I may have missed it.
No, not yet. I haven't. I'm surprised. But like you say, they will probably try something, and they'll try anything. They'll throw everything at him. That's how Democrats are. They're so pathetic now. They have no power, and they don't even care what they say, no matter how ludicrous it sounds. I'm like, people, please, don't you have any more self-respect? So, no, I haven't heard any of that now. But I wanted to get back to the historical black colleges. Another thing that was really important, and this is what the media didn't want people to know, is President Obama never met with them for 8 years. He never met with them. And they asked him for help, and he didn't give them any help.
Patricia,
that's another thing.
Patricia, he never met with them?
Never met with them for 8 years, and he never gave them any help. And as a matter of fact, in some of the articles, I didn't quote them all in my little article, but some of the articles touched on that. And this is how the liberals, they do their headlines. Just one of the liberals' headlines was this: Trump's trying to one-up on Obama. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew that you see what I'm saying? This is how they do it, because everybody knows that he ignored them. And so when Trump brings them in, he's trying to one-up on Obama.
Was it ignoring them or just taking them for granted?
Oh, and he also said this. He said that they were a failure, and they were not doing black students that they weren't turning out good black students. Because I read a lot of black articles too, and those are the things that he had said about them during the years, and they were very disappointed in him. But when Donald Trump reached out to them, he invited them, and they showed up. But did you know when they went back, some of them were they'd written all kind of, called them, the word coon, you know what that means? That's a racial term. The Howard University president had all kind of things written on his doors and things, calling him a coon and this, that, and the other, for even going and meeting Donald Trump, President Trump.
Oh. Well, I think back if we can go back to Joe's question, because if you answered it, I didn't hear it. Was Obama's not associating himself with these people? Was it due to him just ignoring them, or did he just take them for granted? Does he just assume that all these black college campuses are pro-left?
Well, yeah, it's both of them. He took them for granted and he ignored them. He ignored the Congressional Black Congress. It was 2 years before he even would meet with them, and they were begging him for a meeting. The Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah, because there were several times during Obama's administration where he used black colleges as his backdrop when he's out there campaigning for some issue or something like that, and he would go to some place like North Carolina or someplace like, I guess because North Carolina maybe makes the March Madness brackets every year. That's where he wants to go.
Yeah.
And, maybe the lesser colleges.
Plus at all the graduations, the black college graduations, he and Michelle would speak at them also.
Yeah,
say this is how we live in a house slaves built and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's quite a revelation, though. I did not know that Obama never met with these people as a group. You would think that would have been a slam dunk. That would have been, if nothing else, to at least thank them. In the beginning, maybe meet them in the first year. Hey, thanks for getting me in the White House. Now just go back and do your thing, and leave me alone here. Wow. So, along this line of thinking here, the narrative that I see being trotted out is that Donald Trump is just using the minorities as a photo opportunity. But I also find it remarkable, looking at the photo that was taken, not the one with Kellyanne on the couch, but the entire group photo, how many people actually did show up. So that tells me there's definitely a desire, at least on these campuses, to communicate with the president.
Well, they won't help. You got to realize, when someone offers you help, you go. In regards to how you feel about them, and that's what I'm saying. The black colleges are in a bad shape financially because they're not being managed correctly. You know what I'm saying? They're in a bad shape, and they need help. And what his executive order, one of them was he was going to make sure that they got government contracts and things like that to bring in income also. And he might also give them other funds that they need. But Obama didn't care. So when he said the reason they came, they met with, they had a whole day of sessions with Vice President Pence and Education Secretary. So those were nice photos too. I didn't post all those, but it was awesome. And it was so they could hear. He invited them there to tell him and his team what they needed. You understand what I'm saying? So when someone brings you in and says, okay, tell me what it is that you need, and I'll help you, of course they're going to show up. And that's why.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but you're showing up and then people are questioning the motive behind it. It would almost be, you would think that people would be saying in the beginning, before they show up, why, what do you want to talk to me about? What this is all about, that kind of thing. That's interesting. Hey, look, Patricia, we're running at the end of our time with you today. I wanted to give you some time to plug your blog and what you do for the American Thinker, or anything else you're involved in. You've got about 2 minutes to do that.
Well, actually, I'm not too much involved in anything except tweeting and going to March for Trump's rallies, and there's going to be something Saturday, a March for Trump at Huntington Beach for veterans. Saturday. So anything that has anything to do, because we fight every day. You see, I thought after Trump got elected we could rest, but we have to fight every day. It's always something. So that's pretty much all I'm into right now. It's just going to any kind of event or, that's about it. I haven't done much writing because I'm starting a second master's degree. So I'm not going to have a lot of time to do a lot of writing.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be writing theses instead, right?
Yeah.
All right, my dear. I appreciate you coming on here, and I wish you luck getting to your masters and everything else you're doing. We'll definitely keep you on our list of contributors here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Okay, guys, it's time for a break here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them the potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Yeah, we're back. We're back right here at the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I hope we got something out of that interview that we just did with Patricia Dixon from the American Thinker. I was shocked. I was shocked that Obama ignored schools, black college campuses in particular, given his propensity for seeking them for votes and support and everything else. I found that quite a revelation, didn't you, Joe?
Oh, yeah. I never realized that. I never heard that, never realized it or anything else. It's like, wow. And that's just amazing that man would do that for 8 years. No wonder these folks are ready to meet with Donald Trump after being ignored for 8 years.
Well,
I'd want to go meet with him too. I mean, let's face it. You and I were ignored by Barack Obama for 8 years, but we learned to expect it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that has really grabbed me about this is I'm just curious now. I may actually spend some time looking at this. I'd be curious to know what the average enrollment is of these schools. My thinking is if they are maybe a small enrollment, maybe they're in parts of the country where it's not really politically viable to spend time with them.
They are smaller schools. There are a lot of down here in the South, and Tuskegee and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you would think maybe the political thinking is, why spend our time between 5 small schools if we can hit North Carolina State and get the same demographic?
Well, you figured you get people to vote for you, more people to vote for you there or something. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense. That's just I'm astounded by the fact that he never met with them for 8 years.
Yeah, but Joe,
once in 8 years, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but doesn't this kind of fit into the overall Democratic narrative, the John Podesta mentality of the whining Mexicans and things like that? When we need you, we'll call you. That kind of thing. Otherwise, don't bother us.
Yeah, talk and all the more reality, like when Trump said, I think it was up in Michigan, what the hell do you have to lose?
Yeah. Maybe that's what kind of motivated Trump to say that. Maybe he would,
really, because would there have been any change with Hillary Clinton when it comes to that? No, Hillary Clinton would have done the same thing Barack Obama is doing, only probably even worse.
Well, and the other interesting thing that Patricia brought up that I thought is worth rehashing here is the fact that these smaller schools, these campuses, are failing because they're under their bad management. And I'm thinking, well, what are you doing? You're indoctrinating future mayors of Detroit.
Yeah. I remember I just saw something yesterday. I think it was on Carlson's show. Some city councilman in Baltimore just absolutely just praising himself, patting himself on the back because of the policy he's put in place, and he thinks we are doing so great. Meanwhile, Baltimore went from 1 million and something in population to 600,000, and it's like people are leaving. Why? Because they don't want to live in a crap hole, you moron. And you're so happy about the policies you have in place, and people don't want to live in a place where you're going to get shot walking down the street and that kind of thing. And it's like, this guy's not, well, we're doing so great here. And it's like, really, buddy? And it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. Your policies are getting people killed, and people are moving away from there because they don't like to live in that kind of stuff, yet you think you're doing well.
Well, I think when we hear people speak like that, we have to put this. I want to take what you just said here. We got to put this within the paradigm of their thinking. And I want to use an example of something that took place out here in California last year. I remember as you were talking, this popped in my head. There's a neighborhood out here down towards the San Pedro area. And San Pedro is San Pedro is literally on the beach, and it's right next to the Los Angeles ports. So you come inland in San Pedro, and there is a very large stretch of Los Angeles that borders San Pedro, and in there, there's a lot of low-income neighborhoods. And what happened was somebody put a Trader Joe's in the neighborhood, and the city council was totally bent out of shape because what they said was, by putting a Trader Joe's in our neighborhood, you are upgrading the value of the property. And you would think, well, why would that be a problem? Because upgrading the value of the property would bring better tenants into the area, better residents, and it would eliminate or reduce the amount of federal assistance they get in the city. And so you think about this in terms of how the demographics are treated within the Democrat Party. They treat them the same way the Republicans treat us. We'll talk to you at election time. We'll send you our letters telling you how much we love you and represent you. Send us money so that we can get reelected. They just do it in a different manner. And so this whole concept of saying, well, as you were saying, this whole concept of looking back at this thing and saying, well, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want this? Why wouldn't they want that? Well, because it would actually, as Patricia brought up, what it would do is it would present an opportunity that would allow people to elevate themselves out of this dependency, and that's the last thing in the world they want.
Yeah.
You've got to keep these people dependent. You've got to keep them dependent, and if you do it one way or the other, maybe that was the end game with Barack Obama, thinking, I just ignore these people because they can't do anything anyway. Then the narrative will carry itself. Yeah, maybe I'm ignoring you people, but what would a white man do? That kind of idea. Who knows? But it's still, I just find that a fascinating revelation that they were collectively so just discounted, just kind of put off to the side.
Like Patricia said, though, they would show up at the commencement addresses and talk about their 400 years of heritage as slaves and this and that. And, it's like, but, we won't really get together and do anything as a government to help your college out. But, we'll come to your commencement address and talk how great an opportunity you have now that we've fought all this oppression and stuff. And
there's your photo ops. Yeah, I get to put on a robe and I get to look intellectual and intelligent. Celebrity time. Yeah, I get that.
I'll give you some pearls of wisdom from the president or the FOTUS.
Yeah, or maybe an honorarium in the name of organizing for action.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, guys, we are coming up on the end of the show here, and tomorrow, let's see, what do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow, we don't have any guests tomorrow. So
no way.
No. So Joe and I are going to spend our time espousing on our views and our takes of what was taking place this week and within the last week or so, the week and a half.
Tomorrow's supposed to be the vote on the Ryan Care bill.
Tomorrow's supposed to be a vote on the Ryan Care bill. We'll be talking about that. I really want to talk more about the Ryan Care bill because I'm really starting to feel comfortable about how this thing is laid out, and especially in terms of the Medicaid thing. I've kind of hesitated talking about it because I don't want to talk in generalities. We can get that in the news, the generalities of what they say and what, that kind of thing.
There's a lot of changes going on right now that I have not heard about that's being done behind closed doors once again.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard a lot about it yet.
Yeah, and the idea of the Medicaid thing is going to be the big issue here. And I'm really hoping at this point and onward, because the other thing I want to kind of address is how the Republican leadership and even Trump is trying to use their leverage to basically force people into it or stand to have to face retribution for not.
Oh, my goodness. Are they playing politics in Washington, D.C.? Say it's not so, John.
Yeah, tell me about it, as if that isn't what always happens. Anyway, guys, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock here in the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. God love you. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hayko, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.